Today's talk title is The Key to the Abundant Kingdom. So this is an exciting morning because before I delve into our final topic of the month, we get to award our New Thought About New Thought prize. And so basically, we only had one submission, and that was Polly.
Really?
Yeah, so you win! Yay!
That's why you're smiling. What did I write? I don't even know.
I know. Would you like to read it, please?
Let me skim it, and then I'll let you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you can read that.
Go ahead and read it.
When I blame my mood or condition on things others do or something outside of me, I immediately lose all power to make it better. In order to feel better or for things to get better, I have to rely on those things outside me to change first. I only have control over me. When I take responsibility for everything in my life, only then do I have power to change it. Oh my God, you can read that one every day.
Make me a coffee too.
Well, and here is your prize that will help you stay on top of that. So, 365 days of Ernest Holmes, and we often read that as our selected reading. So we'll be having more contests throughout the year. Don't know what they are yet, but we'll do something so there's more opportunities. We have a couple more of those books. So, life lies open to me, rich, full, and abundant. Isn't that lovely? Let's say it together. Okay, let's all get excited about this. Life lies open to me, rich, full, and abundant. Okay, so isn't this a great line to set the tone, start the new year with? I like it. These are words from Science of Mind founder Dr. Ernest Holmes in This Thing Called You, which is an awesome book. And it's been our theme for this month, and we've said it each week. But I wanted us to say it one more time as we wrap up this month. Today we're wrapping up this monthly theme by looking at what I call the key to the abundant kingdom. There's an extraordinarily powerful class available to New Thought centers. I was telling Suzanne a little bit about this. It's written by a New Thought minister, David Owen Ritz, called The Keys to the Kingdom. Have you taken that class? You've heard of it, though. Yeah, Keys to the Kingdom. The concepts from which take us turn around the upward spiral of evolution to a stronger, more stable, mature, expanded, consistent, abundance consciousness, which is more fully aligned with the universal all good. And that was Ernest Holmes' belief, that we evolve on a spiritual upward spiral, that we didn't go around in circles. It just seemed like we were repeating some of the same lessons, but we're not the same person when you go through it the second time or the third time. We're always evolving upwardly in a spiral. So it's all good things, right? It is really a powerful class, and in it, we explore 7 keys to unlocking the kingdom. As a little overview, those keys are making the commitment, holding the vision, building a new awareness, making room for the new, letting go of the past, counting the blessings, and living in the flow. And I believe that there is an additional key, and I'm going to call it the master key, that then allows those 7 keys to be effective. And that's what we're going to explore this morning. I do believe it is the key that has been given a very bad rap. It has a sullied reputation, and those in the spiritual world don't usually think too kindly toward it, but that is because it has been misused, and it has simply been misunderstood. This morning I want to give us a new use for it because it's vital to unlocking the kingdom of a life which is rich, full, and abundant. To introduce this misused, misunderstood key, I have 2 quick stories. Then I'm going to ask you what you think the key is. First, warming up before her jog one morning, a woman stood feet from a large oak and placed both hands on it and pushed against it to stretch her calf muscles. You've done that, right, Allison? Okay. She was in the midst of the standard runner's ritual when a young man passed by, and he stopped and turned and shook his head. "You'll be there forever doing it that way," he said. "Use a chainsaw." Second, a man was sitting at the counter of a diner and said to the waitress, "I guess I'll have a cup of coffee." And she replied, "No jelly donuts to go with it?" "No," he said, "I'm trying to cut back. Maybe later." "How much later?" the waitress asked. "Oh, about 15 minutes, the man replies. "Wow, your willpower is amazing." So what is it? What is our... Can you think of our master key? What would it be?
Interpretation.
Our misused, misunderstood master key to the kingdom is our use of our will or our willpower. We think of using our willpower as trying to force or coerce something to make it happen. Just like the young man thought our jogger was trying to use her force to take down the large oak tree, or the man using his willpower not to have a jelly donut. We think that it has gotten a really bad rap in this teaching because we talk about, as Emerson says, get our bloated nothingness out of the way and let spirit, come in and do the work. And our will is maybe not in alignment, and so it's kind of forcing the river. So that's where it gets a bad rap. And it's not very effective, is it? A lot of times when we try to make something happen when it's not in the flow. In our model of spiritual evolution, why me, by me, through me, and as me, we talk a lot about the will in the by me stage. We learn that we are creative beings, we're not victims, why me, and the power of creation lives in us. And it is tempting to move into thinking we can, through our will, force things to happen. Our New Thought leaders have cautioned us against the misuse of the will. Here's just a few things that they've had to say. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind says, healing is not accomplished through willpower. We can't sit there and will something to happen with our willpower. Thomas Troward says, therefore, it is that if we would bring a new order of life, light, and liberty into our lives, we must commence by bringing a new order into our thought and find ourselves at the starting point of a new creative series, not by the force of personal will. And Florence Scovel Shinn, in the Game of Life and How to Play It, says, the curious thing is, man always gets just what he desires when he does relinquish personal will. So why, then, am I saying that our will is the master key to unlocking the other keys to the abundant kingdom? Well, let's give will a new definition this morning, one that Ernest Holmes actually gave it as well. See, there's really nothing new in New Thought. He writes that will is the conscious directive power of the intellect, and that as such, it has a very important place in the creative order. Through the will, we decide just what we wish to have done. The will, and this is the key, holds the attention to the mental viewpoint until the creative power has time to work through the law of unfoldment. The will is given us to protect ourselves with. Nothing should be allowed to pass into the creative currents of our thought until the will has first admitted it. The will must first analyze, dissect, and then decide what it wishes the inner imagination to work on. Okay, so you understand that part of it? The will is what we use to make sure we do our meditation every morning. The will is what we use to turn away the thoughts that do not serve us, the feelings that are not serving us. The will is the gatekeeper. The spiritual principles on which we live are, there is one life, that life is perfect, that life is God, and that life is my life right now. We use our will to remember those things and to not let anything get in the way of those principles. So let me give you the rest of the story, so to speak, of the brief quotes I shared before about the incorrect use of the will. Holmes wrote at Science of Mind, page 320, healing is not accomplished through willpower, I already read this, but the rest of it is, but by knowing the truth. Okay, so we use our will to keep us focused on the truth. And there is one presence and one power, and that is God, and I am one with that presence and power. Thomas Troward says, therefore, it is that if we would bring a new order of life, light, and liberty into our lives, we must commence by bringing a new order into our thought and find ourselves at the starting point of a new creative series, not by the force of personal will, but by union with divine spirit, which in the expression of its inherent love and beauty makes all things new. And we use our personal will to remain in the mental and emotional consciousness of union with divine spirit. And as I quoted earlier by Florence Scovel Shinn, The curious thing is, man always gets just what he desires when he does relinquish personal will, thereby enabling infinite intelligence to work through him. We actually need to use our will to keep us in the mental and emotional place to enable the infinite intelligence to work through us. That's the part where we need to keep our willpower going. Doesn't that make sense? Is that okay? An example is that a week or so ago, when we were working to get our account with the MID, we were told that we needed to get a business license. Well, we've never done that before. We thought, okay, we'll make this happen. And it just happened that I was going down to downtown the next day for a meeting, and so I stopped by. The lady was so nice, picked up the paperwork and had time to fill out the application, took it back, and they said, okay, now you just need to go upstairs and get it approved by the planning department. No problem. I go up there, and the lady looks at it and she goes, well, I think I need to call the building department over. Okay. And so I noticed that I started to feel a little bit anxious, and he came and started asking questions and saying, well, I think you're going to need an architect to come in and design something, and you're going to need a building, a CPU, a conditional use, or CUP, conditional use. Whoa. And I just brought myself right back. My willpower, instead of allowing myself to get very agitated, I thought, no, I know that this goes easily and perfectly. There's no need for any of this. This is ridiculous. Called Suzanne and said no, or texted you, said no this for me. And then she came down and relieved me, which was great. But by the time she got there, it was already in order. We didn't need to do anything because we're really, he says, well, are you having worship services? And I said, no, we're a teaching institution that happens to have Sunday celebrations. We're there. And the other girl, she says, well, are you really more about life skills and creating better opportunities? I go, that's it. That's what, it was all semantics. It was all words. And I said, we're not, I think when they think the word church, they think, and someday we may be a huge facility, but we'll be in a huge facility when we're there. We're not there yet. And so it worked out so well. Everything just came in. And, I think it's always important that you have someone you can call, someone you can text, someone you can count on to remind you the truth when you start to realize that you might be letting some anxiety or panic set in, or you might be reacting to something that isn't going to lead you where you want to go. So it's good to have willpower to keep your thoughts in check. It's even better to have a practitioner friend or someone who can bring you right back to that and remind you of the truth. So anyway, after getting clear, it all ended up happening, no charge. We're good to go. We're moving into our new place, and life is good. So, it's just interesting to watch the bureaucratic wheels running there and going, no, we don't need to participate in that. It was okay. So it really did take willpower for me to turn away from that condition and to know the truth at the moment of truth. I want to share a concept with you this morning from a recently published book of Napoleon Hill's that was written in 1938. Now, he wrote it in 1938, but it was only just published in 2011. And I see Rob and Barb coming. They found their keys. It is called Outwitting the Devil. Okay. Now, before sharing the concepts from this book, the title takes to mind a little story that I've told before, but it's so perfect. And this is on the outskirts of a small town. There's a big old pecan tree just inside the cemetery fence. Do you remember this story? Good. All right. One day, two boys gathered up a bucket full of nuts and sat down by the tree out of sight and began dividing them. One for you, one for me. One for you, one for me, said one boy. Hi, Rob. Come on in. You found your keys.
I found them.
Yes. Now we just need to find Rich's phone. Okay?
I'm sorry?
We just need to find Rich's phone.
So we found it yet?
Not yet.
That between the council and the seat?
Nope, not yet.
I know it just came to me. It just came to me.
We'll look again. Okay.
Good. Other side.
Several nuts had dropped and rolled down the hill towards the fence. Along came another boy riding on the road on his bicycle, and as he passed, he thought he heard voices from inside the cemetery. He slowed down to investigate. Sure enough, he heard, "One for you, one for me, one for you, one for me," and he just knew what it was. He jumped back on his bike and he rode off. Just around the bend, he met an old man with a cane, hobbling along. "Come here quick," said the boy. "You won't believe what I heard. The devil and God are down at the cemetery dividing up souls." The man said, "Beat it, kid. Can't you see that it's really hard for me to walk?" When the boy insisted, the old man hobbled slowly towards the cemetery. Standing by the fence, they heard, "One for you, one for me. One for you, one for me." The old man whispered, "Boy, you've been telling me the truth. Let's see if we can see the Lord. I sure would like to get a glimpse of the devil himself." Shaking with fear, they peered through the fence, yet they were still unable to see anything. The old man and the boy gripped the wrought iron bars of the fence tighter and tighter as they tried to get a glimpse of God and the devil having a conversation, but to no avail. At last they heard, "One for me, one for you. All right, that's all of them. Now let's go get those nuts by the fence and we'll be done." They said the old man had a lead for a good half-mile before the kid on his bike passed him. Now, I want you to know that in New Thought, we do not believe in the devil. We don't believe that there can be anything other than God, right? Because we believe that there's only one presence, one power, and that power is God. And there can't be anything outside of God. I was reading an interesting email that came across, and it was a story, and I'll share it at another date, but the gist of it is that the absence of light, darkness is not an entity of itself. It is just the absence of light. And the devil is not an entity of itself. Evil is not an entity of itself. It's an absence of spirit, an absence of love, an absence of God. And so just because something it's not the opposite of it. It's just the absence of it. So that's a future story that I will share with you. So there cannot be God and something else. There cannot. There is only God. So Hill's book may seem contradictory to our beliefs, and if we take it literally, well, it might be, but if we take it metaphysically, which I think is the spirit it was offered in, it's right in line. In it, Hill writes, in the voice of the devil, "My greatest weapon over human beings consists of two secret principles by which I gain control of their minds. Through the first principle, the principle of habit, I silently enter the minds of people. By operating through this principle, I establish the habit of drifting. When a person begins to drift on any subject, he is headed straight towards the gates of what you earthbound call hell. A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind. A drifter is one who accepts whatever life throws his way without making a protest or putting up a fight." On page 84, he says, "Nothing can stop me except the power of accurate thought." People who think accurately do not drift on any subject. They recognize the power of their own minds. Moreover, they take over the power and yield it to no person or influence. He continues, "I control the minds of men only because they neglect or refuse to control and use their own minds." So what do these concepts have to do with our master key today? We use our power of will not to drift. We use our power of will to take control of our own minds, and we use the power of our will to create habits of accurate thinking. So today, I invite you to try this. Whenever your mind wanders, whenever you find yourself drifting to a negative thought or feeling, use your will to return to, there is one life, this life is God, this life is my life now. If you feel resistance, then you know there is a place for some deeper exploration, perhaps healing, maybe a little meditation. When you don't feel resistance to the statement, you'll feel it in your body. You'll feel more expansive. You'll feel your shoulders relax. You'll feel your forehead relax, your chin relax as you lean into and open up to your communion, your connection with the truth. And I'm going to add something too. You're going to feel a joy, because when you recognize that there's no separation, you feel that love, you feel that power, you feel that joy, which is spirit. This is revolutionary when you really get this. We often think of willpower, when we think of willpower, we think we're going to try to make ourselves do something, and we just push ourselves. I've done that with exercising. It's not fun. Really, that is such a small amount of the strength that we're capable of. We're really a lot more powerful than we remember and that we know. There was a little boy who was out for a walk with his dad. He walked up to a big rock, and he looked at his dad and he said, "Dad, do you think that I can move this rock?" You know how little boys are. "Do you think I can move this rock?" The dad says, "I think you can if you use all of your power." The little boy moves up his shoulder and he presses on the rock hard and hard. He's just pushing so hard against this rock, and the rock doesn't move. He can't make it move. He tries and he tries using all of the force that he has, but he just can't make it move. Finally he says, "Dad, you were wrong. I used all my power, but I still couldn't make it move." And the dad said, "You didn't use all of your power. You didn't ask me for help." So let's close our eyes right now and enter into the place of the Most High, where all of the divine help, all of the divine strength, and all of the divine power reside. Say to yourself, "Life lies open to me, rich, full, and abundant." Know that you are divinely guided and supported and loved in all things. Say to yourself, "I now choose to use my will to keep my focus on the truth. And I rest in the knowledge that there is one life. This life is God. This life is my life right now." And so it is.